In today's show, Trailblazers, Clippers, Friday night in Portland with 8th place in the Western Conference on the line. Darian Viziri from Locked On Clips joins the program, and we cover the matchup from every angle. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazer reporter Mike Richmond. You listen to another episode of Locked On Blazers. Today, we're diving deep into the Trailblazers-Clippers matchup Friday night at the Moda Center. If the Blazers win, they'll have a path to 8th. If the Clippers win, they'll claim 8th outright. And to cover everything from that show, I'm going to chit-chat with Locked On Clippers host Darian Viziri. It's a crossover edition of the program. Without further ado, let's get into it. Joining me, you know him, the host of Locked On Clippers, Darian Viziri. Darian, how you doing?
I'm good, Mike. It's been a while. I think we haven't collabed since the opening night of the 2023-24 season. DeAndre Ayton's first game as a Blazer.
Yeah, and what a tenure it was. So now they're playing an important basketball game Friday night, a winner take 8th. I mean, there's like some asterisks, but most likely winner take 8th on Friday evening. We're going to kind of get into all of the importance of this. These two teams met a week ago or a little over a week ago, March 31st. And quite frankly, the Clippers got punked. Like they got bullied in that game in a way that I just did not anticipate. So let's start there. These two teams were set to play 2 games in the final 2 weeks of the regular season. How surprised were you with the results of that first game in LA and all of that when the Blazers went in and won 114-104 and kind of just handled the Clippers?
I was pretty surprised. I mean, I know the Blazers are a good team, but besides the fact that the Clippers shot 10 for 30 from 3, which is the first thing I can go to, it's not coincidental. I thought that the Blazers' point of attack defenders caused a lot of problems for the Clippers. Drew Holiday, Kamara, Murray, Scoot Henderson. These guys gave Darius Garland and Kawhi Leonard a tough time, particularly Darius Garland, who was 7 for 17 in the game. And Kawhi only had 23 points. This is a guy who's having a career year scoring the ball. Even for all the years he's played, he's averaging 28 points a game. And the Blazers did a really good job of limiting them. And also offensively, I mean, I knew you were gonna get 25 plus points from Denny Avdia, but 30 from Drew Holiday.
Yeah,
hitting tough shots. It just reminded me what Drew Holiday can be when he's healthy, and we've seen it for so many years on different teams. So it was really disappointing just to see. I don't want to say the Clippers had no effort, but their effort wasn't of a team that needed to win, and I thought that was a little bit disappointing for all of us fans in attendance that night. But credit to the Blazers. Their point of attack defense really got under the skin of Kawhi and Darius Garland.
Yeah, I thought they really just also went after Garland a bunch on defense. They just said he's the guy, go get 10, and it's just a lot of, they don't run a very complex offense. They run a lot of just matchup hunting stuff. And Denny Avdia is so physical. It's just like, bring me the little guy. And usually the thing that makes Garland so special is that he's such a good offensive player. He shot so well with the Clippers and such a good playmaker that he kind of offsets a little bit of that. But I thought they did a good job of kind of getting Derek Jones off Denny and kind of and making sure that Garland was the guy often. And I thought also Denny really kind of bullied Derek Jones a little bit too. In that game, the Blazers had 18 offensive rebounds. They had 32 second chance points. They score the most second chance points of any team in the league. They average 18.3 a game, but they almost doubled that up, right? They're already, that's their strength because they're going to shoot bricks. They're going to miss some shots. And that's one of the tricks of getting your second chance points is those initial bricks, baby. But they crushed the offensive glass. Are you worried about that with the Clippers? Is that even with, Brook Lopez has never been that kind of guy, but he's not terrible. They play kind of big with Collins and Lopez and Leonard in that starting group. Are you worried about the defensive glass for this team?
100%. It's been a concern all year long. When the Clippers were 6-21, it was a major concern. It was something that was killing us game to game. And as you said, right, we had John Collins and Zubats for a lot of the season, but they still couldn't rebound very well. And I don't know, it's not a size thing as much as it is just go out there and get a body on a guy. I feel like a lot of teams in the NBA can say this. teams are more tailored to getting back in transition nowadays, as opposed to crashing the offensive glass. So I think naturally defensively there's like a lack of care to box out and hit a guy on a rebound, but we need to do it, 1 through 5. And that game, I'm happy you mentioned it because I forgot about it. It was the most glaring reason the Clippers lost. They got crushed on the glass, absolutely crushed. And knowing now that the Blazers did that and that they are a good offensive rebounding team, now is where the Clippers in this game need to make a concerted effort. When a shot goes up, everybody's got to get a body on someone. And I don't want to say that anybody's in particular been poor, but in the games that we do struggle, Chris Dunn and Derrick Jones Jr., who are our 2 effort guys, oftentimes are ball watching on shots. And then Brook Lopez, he actually does a decent job boxing out, but the guy doesn't get off the ground. And that often can be why he allows a lot of rebounds. As everybody knows, the Clippers lost their best rebounder midway through the season in Ivica Zubac. And last season, the Clippers were the highest team in the league in defensive rebounding percentage. This season, 25th.
Yeah.
So it's been a huge drop off in that department.
Yeah, I mean, Brook Lopez is an all-time great box out guy. Like, his teams have typically rebounded well, but not because he has good rebound numbers. It's like he has generally impacted teams, but also like he's just older. And it is what it is. Benedict Mathurin prior to that Blazer game had been kind of up and down, but he had probably been, he had had a couple good games in a row. He was bad against the Blazers. Consistency has been a thing for him. Where's your confidence level with him? Because I think that sort of like third guy who scores is a big question mark for this team.
Yeah, it is. And before that Blazers game, I'd say Ben was more up than down. I think his efficiency was up and down, but his impact was always good. He's getting to the free throw line. He's getting 2 feet in the paint. He is being that reliable third guy that, sometimes it doesn't even matter how you get your 15, but if you can get a guy that can give you 15 consistently, that's huge, right? And ever since that game against Portland, it feels as though he has been less aggressive. And I don't know if it's because the coaching staff told him, hey, you're chucking up too many shots too quickly. Let's be more of a team player. Let's try to distribute. He has not been aggressive at all the last couple of games, so much so that the last 3 games, he hasn't scored more than 10 points. So my confidence with Ben going into this game is not great because of what we've seen recently. The Clippers are going to need a better Ben Mathurin game to go into the Moda Center or the Rose Garden and get this W.
You can call it the Moda Center. It hasn't been
the Rose Garden
for a long time. It's a better name. Everyone knows it should still be the Rose Garden, but capitalism has won out here. I think the thing with Ben was like early on in his Clippers tenure, he's getting to the free throw line so much. He was taking like 8 a game. And you mentioned the efficiency, but like so much is just downhill, relentless, go, 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 go. I think he was in his first little bit like leading bench players in scoring when he first got to the Clippers. And then he took none. 0 free throw attempts in that meeting on March 31st. Before we sort of switch gears and you ask me some sort of Blazers questions, who's your biggest fear on the Blazers when you scan and say, okay, here's the guy that if he goes off, we'll lose, type of thing?
Not Denny Avdia, because I feel like he's a given.
Right.
He's been the guy all season long, but Drew Holiday, when he's making step back threes like that.
Yeah, he was so good at the end of that game. Yeah, he was so good at the end of that game.
Because you know what he's going to give you defensively. And this is what shocks me. And Drew Holiday's from LA, went to Campbell Hall, went to UCLA. So I've been very familiar with him for many, many years. I'm a huge fan. But the way Kawhi Leonard is usually able to just bump guys off of him, no problem, is very, it's consistent game to game. Clippers are playing the Blazers. I'm watching the game at Intuit. He's trying to bump Drew Holiday off of screens. He's not going anywhere. Yeah. I was like, oh my goodness. And this is not something that's new. We've seen Drew Holiday be an incredible defender for many years, but you just get reminded of it. So I'd say Drew Holiday, but the other guy that can scare me if he gets hot, I don't even think he played last time, is Shaedon Sharpe. Is Shaedon Sharpe healthy?
He's hurt. Yeah, he's not. He may play. He may play. He's been. We're recording this before the injury reports come out, so maybe I'll ADR some new updated info in here as we do it. But Shaedon Sharpe is fill in the blank, but he was listed as doubtful for the last game, so there's a chance he plays. It'll be his first game since February 6th if he plays.
Okay,
so that's it. It'll be a long time off, but they definitely need his sort of like shot creation, like his ability to go get into jumpers. I think that's a big one. You mentioned Drew, and quickly, like he guarded Kawhi in that game, and they put too money on Darius Garland because he's their best like sort of speedy quick guard defender. They also put Drew on Nikola Jokic like a couple games later. Like he's guarding sort of like big, strong, terrifying player on the other team, be it Kawhi Leonard or the freaking best offensive center in the 21st century. It is he gets some tough ones. So I think, yeah, if this is a Drew game, like it was such a big, important Drew game when the first meeting with the Clippers, this is another big Drew game. Guard Kawhi, okay, and make shots because they're going to need it. When he's been good, the Blazers have been really hard to beat this year. Let's shift gears, and you can ask me some questions about the Blazers side from your perspective. We'll do that after the break. Join us on the other side. First, I want to tell you that today's show is brought to you by Betterhelp. Therapy is an incredibly valuable tool, whether you are dealing with an acute traumatic event or just trying to navigate the daily struggles of being alive in our current era. I like to think of therapy like taking care of your car. Sure, if your car's in an accident, going to the mechanic is valuable, but just taking care of it with routine maintenance keeps that car running better and longer. And that's kind of how therapy works. If you are dealing with an acute trauma, go see a therapist. But if you're just trying to navigate the daily struggles of life, therapy can be incredibly valuable. And BetterHelp is one of the most convenient and affordable ways to start therapy, continue therapy, or find a new therapist if that is something that you need. It helps you work through stress, anxiety, and emotions that you are dealing with in your everyday challenges. And they got over 30,000 licensed therapists and more than 6 million people served. BetterHelp makes it easier to get matched and start focusing on what you need. When life feels overwhelming, therapy can help. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/lockedonnba. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedonnba. Today's show is also brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are coming up. We are closing in the final weekend of the regular season. That means postseason action is just around the corner, and FanDuel's got you covered for every possession, every matchup, and every game where the matchups are magnified and every game can swing a series. Heck, every possession even matters when we get to the postseason, and FanDuel is giving new customers a great way to get in on the action. So you can bet just $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Plus, the FanDuel app makes it easy to follow the action. They got right there in-app player stats, live play-by-play, matchups, and trends all in one place. And during the playoffs, that extra insight can be really valuable. So if you're looking to make wagers on stars or role players or key moments or series or what have you, it's all there right for you in one place on the FanDuel app. So head over to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel. Play your game. All right. Thanks for making this show your first listen. If you're living that everyday lifestyle, go join the Locked On Everydayer Club. You get access to our members-only Discord where you can chat with me and your fellow Blazer fans, plus a ad-free version of this podcast in the audio feed. It's Locked On Blazers without any interruptions. That's $5 a month or $50 a year to join the club. Go to the link in the show notes, lockedonblazers.supercast.com to learn more. All right, here's the rest of my conversation with Darian from Locked On Clips.
So talking about this huge game between the Blazers and the Clippers, the game that will decide the 8th seed. I'm joined by Mike Richmond of Locked On Blazers. Mike, let me ask you this. This season, everybody knew the Blazers were going to improve. I had them, I believe, 11th in my preseason predictions, but I thought maybe they could get 10th. Have they exceeded your expectations and the fan base's expectations?
Broadly speaking, yes. I think yes. Capital Y, yes. I also had them 11th. I called them the 11th best team in the West. And I was saying, like, I think they're 11th best team in the West. And if they're 11th, that means you have a path to 10th, right? Because like it doesn't take much for you to get to 10th. My prediction preseason was that they were a 39-win team. They're probably going to win 40 games at a minimum because I think they're going to beat the Kings on Sunday, with all due respect to Sacramento, which is very limited, due respect. But like, so they're going to win 40 games. They might win 41 if they win on Friday. Or let me try this again for your listeners. They're gonna win 41. But yeah, I would say they've exceeded expectations. I think the big difference is that I thought they might be 39 and like 10-11 still, but instead they're going to be 40-41, and they're going to have a chance at 8th because there were some teams in the West that I thought were going to be better. I thought Memphis was going to be more competitive than they've been. I thought the Warriors would probably be more competitive. Quite frankly, I thought the Clippers were one of the 5 best teams in the West pretty clearly. And now they're just a totally different team heading in a different direction. So like, yeah, I think they've exceeded expectations a little bit, but not tremendously based on wins, more based on standings.
Denny Avdi has taken a big leap this season. He'd already been trending in that direction since coming to the Blazers, but did anyone quite expect this? And also, people have talked about his grifting and all this stuff. Where are you at with Denny as, the star of the Blazers right now?
Okay, my listeners, skip ahead 90 seconds. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I don't love his game aesthetically. Like I think it's it can be a really tough watch at times. It's like he's very talented and he's a good passer, and like I like good passers. I like guys who play to their strengths, and Denny absolutely does that. But a lot of his game is predicated on hit first and yell, and like hit first and yell is just not like the most fun version of basketball. I don't love it. He's kind of like he has a little bit of that sort of James Harden MVP era James Harden, where it's like he plays possessions to get fouled occasionally, and that bothers me a little bit just from like an aesthetics perspective. But I mean, I respect him. I think when he was before he got hurt in January, I think he was playing at a borderline all NBA level. Like I think he was one of the maybe 20 best players in the league through early January. So like, yeah, I think it was awesome. My complaints about him are almost all aesthetic, and like that's a personal choice than talent level. Getting to the free throw line is a skill. He has the elite skill of getting to the free throw line. I think this level I didn't see coming. He played really well at the end of last year. But then that's like when you get to March and April and a young player takes off, you kind of say like, okay, some of that stuff is clearly real, but I don't know how much, because a lot of these games are stupid. Like, it's like a lot of these games are nonsense. And particularly this year, that's just like bizarre basketball. But he was really good at the end of last year. And it was like, well, he was like 23, 8 and 5. It's like, well, if he does that, he's going to be a borderline all-star. And he's basically just been better than that this year. He's really scaled up. Injuries made him play a bunch of point guard. He had to like kind of ball in his hand stuff, and they kind of discovered that was his path. So yeah, I would say this is surprising, maybe the level, but there were signs that it could be there for much of the second half of last season.
Fair enough. Let me ask you this. What concerns you the most about this game for the Blazers? Because, for the Clippers, it's more so, yes, they've gone a different direction, but Kawhi Leonard has legitimately had the best scoring season of his career statistically. And I can tell you just from, covering all his seasons with the Clippers, this has been his best season with the Clippers. I mean, you can argue the 2019-20 regular season when he had just come off the ring in Toronto, but he's going to have played more games in this season, scored more points, and just his aggression level has been something to see. The biggest thing for the Clippers is we want to make the playoffs because we don't want to waste a year of Kawhi Leonard basically in his prime. You can argue he's declined a little bit, but he's still basically prime Kawhi if he's averaging a career high in points and playing in a 9th seed versus 10th seed game. Going to have to win 2 games instead of 1. As we know, that can be very difficult. We've already been eliminated in the play-in in 2022. For the Blazers, you can argue it has even more significance given that post-Dame Lillard, CJ McCollum era, they've worked their way to get back to this point to compete for postseason basketball. I know a lot of Friday's game is going to probably be, as cliche as it is, who wants it more? Who's going to get to those loose balls? Who's going to play harder defensively? What are the concerns, though, for you from the Clippers side?
I absolutely starts with Kawhi. Like I've watched him really closely this year. I think he's been one of the 5 best players in the league, like if not better. I think there was a stretch from maybe early December until the All-Star break where he was probably the best player in the NBA. And like he was just nuts. Like he's just so good.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been the defender that he's been in the past because the offensive usage is there, but just his ability to get to his spots and hit shots, and just he's really hard to guard, accepts double teams and makes plays. Like he was awesome. He's still been very, very good, but he didn't play very well in that game against the Blazers. Some of that is the defense, right? I think they defended him well and they paid him a lot of attention, and they were physical with him and trying to get him, not let him get downhill to those square little mid-range jumpers where he gets feet set, shoulder square. That's a bucket. Like he's just going to line drive one in, and you're like, how did that go in? But he didn't shoot very well, 0-5 from 3. And I think if he shoots a little bit better there, then you have to guard him further out of the rim, further away from the rim. When you do that, everything is harder. So I'm worried of like that nuclear 38 point on 80% shooting Kawhi game that is like absolutely in there. That's absolutely in the cards because he's just that good. And a little bit of it is just the Blazers. In a lot of ways, they played to character in that game. Like they didn't shoot very well, 33%. They're a high turnover team. They turn the ball over 14 times. That's actually below their season average by a few. They average over 17 a game. They just won because they mashed the offensive glass, and that is an effort thing. That is a thing that you can say like, "Hey, lock the heck in," right? Like it's so. I worry that you get a little bit of, you play the character again, you don't do your strengths as strong, and you kind of just, the margins there change a little bit. But I didn't think they were going to win against the Clippers. And so the second meeting, I'm like, they could. Who, I guess, like, is there someone beyond Kawhi that you think I should be worried about here? Like, is there an X factor I'm missing?
Well, I think if Darius Garland plays well, it changes so much about this Clippers team. He's the true second guy right now, replacing James Harden. When he can knock down those pull-up threes and get downhill and get into his game, get shifty, things can really change. But the Blazers do have good guys to throw at him. Now, that brings me to my next question. The Blazers are 13th in defensive rating. Every time I've seen them play the Clippers this season, they look like one of the better defensive teams in the league. Why are they not top 10? Is it just because Drew Holiday was out for so long? Like, what's the deal there?
Yeah, I mean, I thought they were going to be a top 10 team. They were 4th in defense for the final 41 games last year. They have pretty much the same personnel. Obviously, they missed some time.
And Scoot Henderson was out for a while. Is he still as good of a defender as he was, in the past?
He's really, when the ball's right in front of him, he gets after it and he's physical. He just can over pursue, and then he's not great in the team concept. But like he's strong and has good hands, and so if he gets to sit down and guard, he can do it. But the rest of it can kind of be an adventure with Scoot. And also he's like 6'3", and just like that size of guy in the modern NBA, it's tough. They let you Denny Avdia people. They really let you just push little dudes around in a way that they didn't always. Yeah, that used to be when we were younger, Darian. Those were offensive fouls, and now that's just a normal way to drive to the rim. So, I think it's Denny's offensive load has caused him to take a pretty significant step back on defense. He's capable of being a very good defender, but doing it every night has not been part of his repertoire this year, just because he's been asked to have, it's like a 30% usage. He does everything, ball in his hands, all that stuff. I think Donovan Clingan playing a little bit more minutes has taken away a little bit of his magic around the rim. Like he's not blocking shots at the same level, and he's just playing more. And then they missed Drew for a long stretch, and that was supposed to be a big upgrade for them. He missed like 9 weeks. So they've taken off. They really feasted on a very easy March schedule to really boost that defensive rating. They've basically been a below average defensive team, which was kind of a stunner to me all year until March. And then they played a bunch of bad teams, and they've been awesome since then. So, some of it may be that they've climbed from below average to slightly above average based on that. But like, they do have the personnel to guard. I think the players they guard the worst are really fast guards. So Garland is a big one because it's like, his speed, ability to get into the paint, ability to, take pull-up jumpers when Donovan Clingan is in drop is a big deal. So that to me is one of the reasons one of the keys, because that's one of their defensive weaknesses for sure.
Yeah. 2nd in defensive rating in the month of March for the Blazers. I just looked it up. So
yeah.
It'll be an interesting one, but coming up, we're going to just go back and forth, talk about how big this game is for both teams with a chance to play the Phoenix Suns on the line.
First, I want to tell you that today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks. The playoff push is heating up. We're a few days away from the end of the regular season and a week left in the play-in to decide the final playoff matchups. And there's no better way to get in on the high-flying action than PrizePicks, America's #1 sports pick app. Every bucket, every assist, every big moment means more when you're building your lineups on PrizePicks. PrizePicks makes it simple to play. It's daily fantasy built around player projections, so you can stay locked in to all the games. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, which makes it quick and easy to jump in. You can mix different sports in the same lineup. So if you don't just want to follow NBA basketball, but baseball season, and as we get into playoff hockey as well, you can do all of that. Plus early features like early payouts let you lock in a win early if your player gets off to a strong start. It's a fun way to stay engaged, especially during the playoff run of this time of the season when things are important, or at least feel more important. Download the PrizePicks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup on PrizePicks. All right, still chatting here with Darian Viziri of Locked On Clippers. I'm Mike Richmond of Locked On Blazers. Thanks for rocking with us in the crossover episode. Okay, we talked about this. In fact, I'll take people behind the bit. I started to talk to you about this before the show started, and you said, no, save it. Mike, save it for the show. So I will ask here. You kind of alluded to it. Is this an important game for the Clippers? They have, the longest streak in the NBA of winning seasons. They've been this is the best era of Clippers basketball ever. And now they're fighting a game on Friday night on the road to get 8th in the play-in. Like, is this an important game for the Clippers? And why is it an important game?
It's very important because keeping the postseason streak alive would be nice. Now, in those 15 years that you referenced, the Clippers have missed the postseason on 2 of those occasions. But in both occasions, the Clippers were 42-40. So we did finish above 500. We want to keep that alive, but also Kawhi Leonard, I keep saying it. While his Clipper tenure has not been what we expected, he is having a career season, as I referenced. So, as you know, playoff Kawhi is somebody who we've seen win championships, somebody who we've seen do historic things. We're talking about one of the best small forwards that has ever played the game. In his career season and having busted his ass to play 65 games, which, when that rule was introduced, Kawhi Leonard was one of the first people you thought about. And even me as a Clipper fan, rightfully so, it's like, okay, now that'll incentivize guys to try to play that 65 games. Kawhi Leonard is actually going to, unless something crazy unforeseen happens these last 2 games, he is going to qualify for All-NBA, and he should be All-NBA. So that being said, given that he's given so much, and the Clippers have gone from 6-21, they're the only team in NBA history to be below 500 by 15 games and then be above 500 in the same season. It would be such a travesty for us not to make the playoffs. And then having playoff games at Intuit is just such an experience for us Clipper fans. Last year, it was so electric. The decibel level compared to our last year at Staples Center was so different. We had Kevin Harlan opening up the broadcast saying, one of the noisiest buildings in the league. And just that made me feel special as a fan. So I think the number one reason is the season Kawhi Leonard has had. That Kawhi Leonard deserves to see postseason basketball. And also, it gives the Clippers a chance in a 7-game series to see which role players do you want to bring back for one more year of Kawhi and, of course, Garland, who I assume will be a Clipper for a while. And I want to see what this team can look like with a full training camp of Kawhi, Garland, and whatever pieces that they acquire or lose in the offseason. And then I wonder if that Indiana pick is going to hit. If the Pacers get the 5th through 9th pick in the draft this year, it will be the Clippers pick because of the Ivica Zubac trade. So I would like to see us be in the playoff series, not just for Kawhi, but to see which players the Clippers want to keep long-term in terms of role players. So.
Yeah. And I guess from the Blazers perspective, I was telling you, like, this is more important to the Blazers. You're like, save it. So I'll save it. I'll give it to you now. Post even with Damian Lillard, when the last 2 years that they had him, first year he gets hurt and they kind of pull the plug. Second year, they're not very good. He has this awesome offensive season and then they pull the plug again. and then he leaves for a couple years, and they have some down season. And last year they're kind of just like a normal bad team, not one of the horrendous teams. Probably, in my opinion, a mistake to not be one of the horrendous teams, but whatever. They were decently competitive. And so they've been building to this, right? The acquisition of Deni Avdija, getting Tumani in that initial Damian Lillard trade, getting Drew Holiday this summer to say like, okay, we're going to be competitive again. And now Damian Lillard back in the fold and going to be on the team next year, on the active roster next year. He's there. I've seen him. But like they've kind of been building towards being a team that gets to play meaningful games. They have not played a truly meaningful game this late in the season since the 2021 playoffs, which happened in June. We're talking 5 full years of playing games. The building has the most important home game in Portland in 5 years. It is a game with stakes. And I think like the difference is why I said like it means more. I don't know, like it's hard to judge that kind of thing, is because the Clippers are kind of in this cycle where it's like, we've been good. We were kind of like vague championship contenders as recently as last season, and now you're kind of in this new mold. And like you said, there's value in playing important games and all of that. But the Blazers are a team that's like clearly just from the bottom of the graph to now they hoping that this thing is pointing up. So winning and getting this proof of concept game and doing it at home and all these things, like you beat the Clippers on Friday, you've secured the tiebreaker. You just got to beat the hapless Kings on Sunday, and you're into 8th. Like they're still going to be in the play-in regardless, but you get a much cleaner path with 8th. So yeah, I just think it's a really big deal here, both for the Blazers fans, for the organization, quite frankly, for the front office to prove that are heading that direction. And Tiago Splitter, who is, maybe coaching for his job, maybe his job's already gone, hard to know, but like, without a contract and a new owner has come in, they like coaching to prove that they are capable of doing it in these big games.
And the crazy part is, if the Clippers lose on Friday, we could have the exact same game in like a week.
Yeah, exactly. Portland. Yeah, exactly. Which will feel like a little playoff series. Like you get that March 31st game, you're going to get this game on April 10th, about 2 weeks. And then like you come around after a long weekend and potentially play again with another chance to get there. So I think, I guess let's leave it here. What is your sort of confidence level with heading into this game? Because let me preface by this. My confidence level heading into the last Clipper game for the Blazers was probably like, 20%. Like it was pretty low. I was like, they're going to lose. They'll be competitive, but they're going to lose. What is your confidence level after, heading into game 81 here? I'm
going 55%. I think we're going to win. It's just one game is needed. One game is needed for the Clippers. I think the Clippers have more star power. I mean, Kawhi Leonard is the best player, with all due respect to Deni Avdija.
No, he is. He is.
A lot of it's going to come down to if the Clippers can make their open threes, which I know is so cliche in today's NBA. It's all that it's about. But the Clippers are 7th in the NBA in three-point percentage. But watching them all season and covering them, you would never think that, because one game they'll shoot 50% from three, and the next they'll shoot 29. So, like that game that Brook Lopez went off in Portland this year.
Yeah, he hit 9 threes. It was nuts.
It's not been the norm. He has that one aspect. Funny enough, with Brook Lopez, you would think the one thing he still does well is catch and shoot threes. He's actually been decent defensively and doing the other little things, but his three ball has not been that good this season. So if the Clippers can get another repeat of that, like one guy going off, that would be massive. But the three-point shooting is, from my end, what concerns me the most, but also how we respond to the tough defenders of Portland that caused us problems last time.
Yeah, I'm probably in the 50-50 range. Like I do think it's a true toss-up. I'd be stunned if the Blazers got punked. They have not done that very often at home this year. So I anticipate a close game regardless. And in fact, if it's lopsided, I would think the home team would win. That would be my guess. If it's a double-digit game, it'll be the Blazers coming out on top. I would be surprised if the Clippers handle them, just because of the way they've played in that building this year. I think it's 50-50. I think for fun, I'll say I'm 51-49 Blazers, just because 50-50 is, I don't want to sit on the fence. I'll hop just ever so slightly to the Rose Garden side of the fence. But yeah, I think I do think sometimes in these games it is best player, and the Clippers have the best player. And I think that is the part that you get worried about. The other team has the best player. And sometimes in a 48-minute game, or if it's close, an 8-minute game to decide it, that's often what it comes down to.
Yep.
Dear listeners, come back for more shows the rest of the week. Well, this is Friday's program, but Blazers play a huge game. Clippers play a huge game Friday night. We'll have you covered for that. If you're a listener to Locked On Blazers, go check out Locked On Clippers. Darian does a great job. And if you are a Locked On Clippers listener, come hang. I do this, like, 5 days a week, wherever you get podcasts, also on YouTube. Darian, this was a blast. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks so much, man. Excited. Good luck.
Thanks again to Darian for joining the show. It's always a treat to chat with my fellow Locked On hosts and get the perspective from the other team. Speaking of that other team, the Blazers play the Clippers on Friday nights. And after that game, I'll have you covered for a little post-game recap show. It is, we're going to do a lot of episodes this week. So lock in, hang with us, and come have a whole bunch of fun, because this is important basketball, important games with real stakes. Tell your friends about the podcast. And if you haven't, go check out Locked On Clippers, and then tell your friends about that podcast too, and then come back for more shows next week. I appreciate you listening. I will talk to you soon.